Las Vegas has always been sold as a city of chance, but the truth is that nothing on the Strip happens by accident. Behind the neon glow and flashing slot machines, the casinos have been quietly reshaping the city not for the millions of everyday visitors who once filled its streets, but for a far smaller, richer crowd. Over the past decade, the so-called City of Entertainment has pushed average Americans out with sky-high room rates, endless resort fees, and games like Triple Zero Roulette designed to drain wallets faster than ever. The result? Fewer tourists than in the past, just 19.6 million visitors this year, compared to 42 million a decade ago, yet casinos are reporting record $4.3 billion Strip revenues. For workers, the story is much darker. Layoffs, stagnant wages, and entire neighborhoods collapsing, while casino corporations report higher profit margins to their Wall Street investors. It raises a chilling question. Was the collapse of Las Vegas really a collapse at all, or was it a carefully engineered shift to lock out the middle class? Every empty seat at a blackjack table, every shuttered shop just off the Strip, and every family priced out of a Vegas vacation points to the same unsettling truth. What looks like decline may actually be victory for the casinos. This wasn't a mistake, it was a plan. And today we're going to expose how the so-called collapse of Las Vegas was the future casinos wanted all along. For decades, Las Vegas thrived on the promise that anyone could come find a cheap room, enjoy a buffet, and maybe walk away richer than when they arrived. But somewhere between the economic crash of 2008 and the pandemic of 2020, the casinos began rewriting the rules of the game. What once was an accessible playground for middle-class families from California, Texas, and the Midwest became a fortress of exclusivity. The first warning signs came quietly: resort fees tacked onto hotel bills, parking charges where it used to be free, and subtle changes to the games themselves, like the arrival of Triple Zero Roulette, which dramatically tilted odds against players. By 2025, the average room rate hit $198 a night, with some weekends soaring far higher, and that doesn't even include the extra fees and taxes layered on top. For a family of four, a simple weekend trip that once cost a few $100s can now climb into the thousands before they even step onto the casino floor. These shifts were not mistakes in management or signs of incompetence. They were deliberate strategies designed to drive away the casual gambler and replace them with a new clientele, the ultra-wealthy high roller. Casinos began investing in luxury suites, private gaming rooms, and exclusive dining experiences meant only for the top 5% of visitors. In doing so, they created a two-tier city, one of velvet ropes champagne service and billion-dollar profits for those who could afford it, and another of shuttered storefronts, empty sidewalks, and ordinary Americans priced out of what was once their city. This slow transformation explains why the Las Vegas Strip can look emptier than ever, while casinos boast record earnings on their quarterly calls with Wall Street. It was never about attracting more people, it was about attracting the right people, the richest people, and making everyone else feel like they don't belong anymore. The numbers tell a story that no amount of neon lights can cover up. In 2016, Las Vegas welcomed over 42 million visitors, a figure that symbolized the city's role as America's ultimate playground. By contrast, the most recent data from 2025 shows only 1966 million visitors year-to-date, a staggering decline of more than half. On the surface, that drop should have spelled disaster for a city built on tourism. Yet the Las Vegas Strip has reported revenues topping $4.3 billion, nearly matching or even exceeding its peak years. How is that possible? The answer lies in the way casinos recalibrated their business model. Instead of relying on millions of everyday gamblers feeding $20 bills into slot machines, they shifted focus to a smaller group of elite customers who spend tens of thousands in a single weekend. That explains why hotel companies brag on their Wall Street earnings calls about quality over quantity, even as foot traffic on the Strip visibly shrinks. Average room rates now hover at $190 per night, and premium weekends push beyond $300, all before adding resort fees that can climb past $50 a day. The result? is a pricing system that filters out the middle-class traveler, making it nearly impossible for families to afford a trip without significant sacrifice. Yet the casinos are thriving with fewer guests. Operating costs go down, while the revenue per visitor skyrockets. Table games like Triple Zero Roulette increase the house edge, bringing in millions more annually with almost no added expense. Slot machines are programmed for higher hold percentages, squeezing every dollar more aggressively than ever before. And then there's the expansion of exclusive experiences, VIP lounges, celebrity chef restaurants, and bottle service clubs that cater to a clientele willing to spend like there's no tomorrow. One striking statistic illustrates the shift. In 2024, MGM Resorts reported that just 20% of their guests accounted for more than 70% of gaming revenue, proving that casinos no longer care about attracting the masses. This reliance on high-spending customers means the city can look empty and still outperform financially. But it also means that for most Americans, the Vegas they once knew no longer exists. To make matters worse, the corporations behind the Strip have diversified their revenue streams beyond gambling. Non-gaming income, once just 35% of revenues in the 1990s, now makes up more than 65%, driven by inflated hotel rates, entertainment, and food and beverage operations. In other words, the casinos don't need you to gamble anymore. They make more profit from charging you to eat, sleep, and simply exist within their walls. And if you can't afford it, they don't mind, because the ultra-rich will. That is why the 19.66 million visitors of 2025 bring in just as much cash as the 42 million visitors of 2016. The collapse of foot traffic was not a failure, it was the blueprint. And every chart, every statistic, every financial disclosure points to the same conclusion. The so-called Vegas collapse is not about a city dying. It's about a city being reborn in a form that deliberately excludes ordinary people. While casino executives celebrate record Wall Street profits, the picture on the ground in Las Vegas tells a far darker story. For the tens of thousands of workers who once kept the Strip alive, housekeepers, servers, bartenders, and dealers, the engineered collapse of mass tourism has been nothing short of catastrophic. Since the pandemic, the city has seen wave after wave of layoffs, often framed as cost-cutting measures or efficiency upgrades, but in reality, reflecting the casino's pivot toward a leaner model that no longer needs as many employees. In 2024, alone, over 20,000 hospitality jobs disappeared across Clark County, leaving entire families scrambling for survival. Those who remain employed face wage freezes even as living expenses spiral out of control. The average rent in Las Vegas has jumped more than 40% in 5 years, pushing a one-bedroom apartment to nearly $1,400 a month, far outpacing wage growth for workers still earning near minimum pay. Meanwhile, the neighborhoods surrounding the Strip reveal the hidden cost of casino greed. Once busy local businesses shutter their doors, unable to survive without steady foot traffic. Gas stations, diners, and convenience stores that thrived on the flow of budget-conscious tourists now sit abandoned symbols of a city hollowed out from the inside. And the most heartbreaking consequence: a surge in homelessness, now estimated at more than 6,500 people on any given night, many of whom are former casino employees priced out of the very city they helped build. For these locals, the shimmering towers of the Strip are not a beacon of opportunity, but a reminder of betrayal. As casinos tighten their grip on exclusivity every day, Las Vegans find themselves pushed to the margins, watching their hometown transform into a playground for outsiders while their own quality of life collapses. The irony is impossible to ignore. While executives boast about higher spend per visitor, ordinary residents line up at food banks, navigate crowded shelters, and take on multiple jobs just to survive. Even longtime residents who once defended the city's reliance on gaming now admit that Las Vegas feels less like a community and more like a corporation in disguise. This is the hidden cost of a strategy designed to shrink access for the masses and concentrate wealth at the very top. The empty sidewalks of the Strip may signal decline to outsiders, but for locals, they represent a permanent shift. The Vegas they knew is gone, replaced by a city where their labor is expendable, their voices ignored, and their futures increasingly uncertain. Behind the carefully crafted marketing slogans and bright billboards, a web of scandals and secret deals reveals just how calculated the transformation of Las Vegas truly is. Take the Formula One Grand Prix in 2023, when the city funneled more than $20 million in taxpayer funds into sponsorship demands, while casinos closed down streets, disrupted local businesses, and forced residents to endure weeks of gridlock. The spectacle was billed as a global advertisement for the Strip, yet most of the money flowed back into the casino's coffers, while everyday citizens paid the price. Then there are the lawsuits, many buried in court filings, that rarely make headlines, where hotel corporations face accusations of price fixing by quietly coordinating their resort fees through shared booking platforms. These suits allege that the biggest casino operators, names like MGM Resorts, Caesars, Entertainment, and Wynn Resorts, didn't just raise prices individually, but worked together to ensure visitors had no affordable alternatives. And if you think these scandals stop at the city limits, think again. International rivals like Macau, Dubai, and Singapore have long offered more glamorous experiences for the wealthy, so Vegas casinos doubled down by lobbying for policies that discourage budget tourism. Insiders whisper that executives deliberately pushed out conventions, festivals, and events that once attracted middle-class crowds, choosing instead to attract a smaller, ultra-wealthy demographic that fits their new model. Even the games themselves have become tools in this quiet scheme. Regulatory filings reveal how the Nevada Gaming Control Board approved subtle but highly profitable rule changes, from higher slot machine hold percentages to blackjack payouts dropping from the traditional 3-2 down to 6-5. Each of these changes might seem small on its own, but together they amount to billions siphoned from players' pockets without most ever realizing it. The image of Vegas as a land of equal opportunity, a place where anyone could try their luck, was quietly dismantled while few were watching. And what about the government oversight meant to protect the public? Many former regulators now work directly for the same corporations they once policed, blurring the line between watchdog and accomplice. Locals recall how casinos successfully lobbied the city council to crack down on street vendors and budget performers, not because they harmed tourism, but because they disrupted the curated image of a luxury destination. Even whispers of organized crime never fully disappeared, with allegations that certain entertainment contracts and nightclub operations still involve shadowy figures with deep connections to international laundering networks. All the while, corporate leaders present a polished front, smiling for interviews and talking about rebuilding Vegas stronger. Yet beneath the glitter, the reality is clear. The so-called collapse of Vegas is the result of intentional strategies, hidden partnerships, and a string of scandals designed to lock out average Americans and ensure that the Strip belongs only to the elite. What outsiders call decline, insiders call success, and they have the receipts to prove it. The collapse of mass tourism in Las Vegas hasn't left a void. It has simply redirected millions of travelers to other corners of the world, fueling a global tourism boom that shows just how intentional the Vegas strategy really was. As ordinary Americans and Europeans find themselves priced out of the Strip destinations like Cancún, Mexico, Barcelona, Spain, and even smaller hubs such as Prague and Budapest are experiencing surges in visitor numbers. Airlines report record bookings on transatlantic and Latin American routes, with Mexican resort towns seeing a 15% year-over-year increase in American visitors in 2024, while Las Vegas continues to post flat or declining totals. In Europe, package vacations that include flights, hotels, and meals can cost less than a weekend in Vegas, making the choice obvious for budget-conscious travelers. Meanwhile, the high rollers whom Vegas courts so aggressively now split their attention with ultra-exclusive markets like Macau, which in 2024 recorded gaming revenues surpassing $22 billion, dwarfing Las Vegas's $4.3 billion strip haul. Dubai and Singapore also benefit, offering not only casinos, but cultural prestige, luxury shopping, and elite experiences that outshine what Vegas can now offer. Even Canada has quietly gained, with Montreal and Toronto hosting festivals and nightlife scenes that attract young tourists once destined for Nevada. The economic fallout extends beyond tourism numbers. Global hotel chains and entertainment conglomerates have recalibrated their investments, prioritizing Asian and European markets while scaling back their exposure to Las Vegas. This means new jobs, infrastructure, and cultural events are blooming overseas, while locals in Nevada watch opportunities dry up. The irony is that what casinos label as quality over quantity in Vegas translates abroad into a windfall of quantity and quality, where entire nations benefit from tourists priced out of America's desert playground. The message is undeniable: the world is moving on, and Las Vegas doesn't care. Its corporations have insulated themselves by catering to the top 5% of travelers, leaving everyone else to fuel growth elsewhere. For ordinary Americans, this marks a painful shift. The dream of a spontaneous trip to Vegas, once considered almost a rite of passage, is now replaced by a new reality where the average family is more likely to fly to Mexico City or Lisbon than to drive to Nevada. Even European visitors, once a reliable stream of international traffic for Vegas, now bypass it entirely for cheaper, more authentic experiences closer to home. In chasing exclusivity, Vegas has surrendered its global crown as the people's playground, and the winners are destinations that never claim to be built on chance. They simply open their doors, welcome the middle class, and reap the rewards. The so-called collapse of Las Vegas has therefore become a global redistribution of tourism wealth, a reshuffling of the deck that proves the city's decline was not just expected, but engineered. And while corporate leaders in Nevada continue to boast of their profits, the rest of the world is quietly cashing in on America's self-inflicted retreat. The evidence is undeniable. The so-called collapse of Las Vegas was never a collapse at all, but a carefully orchestrated reinvention. From the introduction of Triple Zero Roulette to the relentless rise of resort fees and room rates, from the gutting of local jobs to the hollowing out of neighborhoods, every move was part of a larger strategy to reshape the city into something unrecognizable. The Strip no longer belongs to the millions of everyday tourists who once kept it alive. It belongs to the select few who can afford to pay whatever the casinos demand. Meanwhile, the global tourism industry thrives as families and budget travelers flee to Mexico, Europe, and Asia, proving that what Las Vegas lost, the world gained. And yet for the people of Nevada, there is no consolation prize, only rising homelessness, vanishing opportunities, and a city that feels less like home and more like a corporation's showroom. The truth is as harsh as the desert sun. The Vegas collapse was not a mistake, it was a business plan. And that plan worked. So when you see the empty sidewalks of the Strip, the shuttered shops, and the desperate faces of workers left behind, don't be fooled into thinking you're witnessing a city's death. You're witnessing its rebirth into something colder, sharper, and far less welcoming. The neon still burns, the games still spin, and the profits still soar, but the dream that once drew millions has been sold off to the highest bidder. The only question left is this: if Las Vegas was once the place where every American had a chance, what does it mean for the country when that chance has been taken away by design?